We're live. We're live. So, before we start this podcast, this is just me and JR just hanging out at Crash. So this is kind of like just a what up, dude kind of episode. JR, if you're about to get together with your buddies for a weekend and like one of your buddies, I don't know, from high school or college brings a game console, let's just say it's Nintendo 64. What game are you guys playing?
Mario Kart.
Absolutely. 100%. I was talking about this yesterday with some patients, and it was like 100% across the board. Every person that was in like their 30s and 40s, it was Mario Kart N64. And the thing is, I only like Mario Kart on N64. Have you played the Switch?
I have, yeah. My wife is kind of a gamer, and I got that for her like maybe for Christmas, and we got Mario Kart and played it. And it was fun, very nostalgic. But I actually didn't play any video games at all unless I went over to a friend's house. And I remember the first video game ever playing was Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam on Sega Genesis.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
But I didn't have a game console until I was in college.
Really?
So
by choice or because your parents just wouldn't like get you one?
My parents. Yeah. I was already a really chubby kid playing a bunch of sports, so I think they knew that if I had something like that, then it would get way out of hand.
That's awesome. Yeah, I thought I was a late bloomer because I think I got my first N64. I want to say N64 came out when I was like maybe 10 or 11. I don't think I got one until I was maybe a sophomore or junior in high school.
Okay.
But yeah, man, Mario Kart across the board. Like I know when I get together with my friends, especially a specific group, we'll literally play it till like 3 a.m, and I never stay up till past like 10 anymore. So that's commitment to a game right there.
Yeah, it's a fun game. We had one in the little common area when I was in college. Me and my teammates would all play, and one of my teammates was amazing at it. We would never beat him, but
that's the thing.
It was definitely fun to do. Like, hey, you play a quick game before we go to the dining hall. You know, it'd be 15 minutes.
Yeah, there's always that one guy in the group who is going to get first. So everybody's just, it's like Matt Fraser, right? You're just playing for second.
True.
Yeah, my buddy Evan, that was him. So yeah, dude, I was looking back when you had your episode with us. It's been a couple months. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it was, a lot has happened. I was going through the list of all the event changes that have happened in your life since you were last on our podcast. You became famous, right? You went to the CrossFit Games as a Masters athlete. Your training partner became extremely famous in a matter of like 6 weeks. Buttery Bros came into your gym. Your gym was featured. What else? Oh, yeah, you also had another daughter. And you got a brand new red truck. So, that's a lot of changes in 2-3 months.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months. It has definitely been kind of crazy.
Yeah, so we kind of want to talk about this whole whirlwind. I'm kind of getting dizzy thinking about it, just listing all those things off. So let's start from the beginning, man. What was it like doing the Last Chance Online the Masters Online Qualifier, and that whole thing that happened with you being 17th and then being knocked up and out of contention and then last minute getting back in? Talk about that.
Yeah, this year I was not really planning on competing. We had a group of athletes that were interested in doing team that qualified for semifinals and did the online Atlas Games. Leading up to that, I had told them my plans were to do the Open to help contribute scores, to do whatever that I could do to help the group. But because I'd had kind of a nagging shoulder injury since last year's online qualifier, that I was going to take my name out of the semifinals altogether. We didn't really know the structure was going to be pretty much the same kind of throughout, where you have individual quarterfinals and then the team events were almost exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So had I known that going in, I definitely would have wanted to be a part of it, because it was so satisfying for me to watch the team, but also really, really hard for me to watch the team do that, because I knew that I probably could have helped and just been able to be a part of it. So that was a little bit bittersweet. My wife told me to do the online qualifier this year. I told her that I didn't think it was really smart to do, because if something came out, I would probably be stupid and risk further injury just to get a few more points. Mm-hmm. But she said, you never know. Just do it and see what happens. Luckily, the only thing that really causes pain were like heavy full snatching and overhead squatting. The overhead squat workout was a load that was painful, but something I could tolerate. It was probably the worst score that I got of the 5 workouts, but I was still able to do it. It was actually the only workout that I retested. I was kind of hanging out in the top 20 most of the weekend. On Saturday, we looked, and I was about 12th, and my wife said, well, you're going to make it. And I said, no, that score is really going to drop me. She said, well, how much? And I said, I won't be top 20. So I asked around to some people in the CrossFit space that I trusted that kind of knew what good times would be. They had some athletes in the 40 to 44-year-old division. They knew of athletes doing it in the 35 to 39. And a guy that I really trust said, you need to go 10 seconds faster. And I said, just 10 seconds? He said, yep, you got to be sub 330. And if you're not, I don't think you're going to make it. And I was 340 at the time. And I did it again on our anniversary on Mother's Day. My wife said, this is how I want to do it. Like, this is how I want to spend this day. Because if you don't do it, you're always going to wonder if you would have redone the workout because you've gone a little bit faster and made it to the games, because it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So we went to the gym. She let me warm up the hour and a half that I needed to for a 3-minute workout to get my shoulder ready to go and my mind ready to hurt a little bit more. And I ended up, going 3:29 was my time. And that guy was right. So I qualified, kind of. It was the weekend right before Crescendo, so I had a lot of people prematurely congratulating me, which was really nice, but I told all of them, just wait. They have to review all these videos. Mm-hmm. That has been something that I've been told can go crazy directions. You have people just behind a computer screen watching you move. They're not there in person. They can slow down the tape. They can speed it up. They can pause it. They can scrutinize as much as they want. And the same person doesn't watch every single video. So who knows how that's going to go. So I told everybody, hey, I'm planning on getting no reps. Most people do. They usually will publish an article that says the following age group athletes were penalized on these workouts. Lack of depth, lack of hip extension, lack of lockout, false start by 1 second. I mean, it's crazy. So I planned on getting something. I set up camera angles and tried to do everything as by the book as possible. All the things that you try to do to ensure that you're not going to be one of those people. But I did end up incurring a penalty on the first workout, me and a lot of people actually in the top 20. So everyone shifted after that first workout, and it was event 1. Mm-hmm. And I was saying to myself, well, if that's the first workout, then surely there's going to be a ton of other shifting going on. I don't even need to look at the leaderboard.
So after that, once you submitted all your workouts and you said that, the first one was the one that was highly scrutinized and everybody had some point deductions, in the back of your mind where you were like, all right, yeah, maybe at that point, maybe I didn't go deep enough, or maybe I had a mishap, or like when you got that deduction where you like, there's no way.
It was heartbreaking for sure, because it dropped me from 17th to 21st in the top 20 qualified.
Right.
So I'm, of course, saying to myself, well, it's over. That's it. I appealed it, which the same people that had kind of been through the online qualifier process either qualified for the games or had athletes that had said, dude, you need to appeal it. This is how you need to do it. You need to be very careful with the way you word it, and you need to say, hey, this is what I see on the video. This is what you guys told me I didn't do. Can you explain this scoring adjustment? And I did that, and it was almost like they had a cut and pasted response. It was like, and they reached out to me really fast, which was good to know. Gave me some closure. Was like, hey, we got your appeal. Thanks a lot. We've done a second review, and the second reviewer agrees with the first reviewer. So have a nice day. And that was it. Man. And not everyone got penalized on the first workout for sure. There were a lot of us because, you see all those same names and you refresh a leaderboard constantly, and you almost feel like you know these athletes and you've never met them because you're like, they're probably going through a lot of the same anxiety, especially the bubble athletes. So, yeah, that was at that point I was like, well, maybe God's got a different plan for me, and the plan is not to go to the games this year. So, and of course, jumping to conclusions after the first video submission review, but alas, I didn't get any other video submission reviews. I don't know if they watched all the rest of my videos and said they were all good, but I never got emails saying, hey, we reviewed the rest of them, you're good to go.
Really?
I just stayed at 21 and stayed at 21 and stayed at 21. And that was tough.
Yeah.
I had been told some people may not be able to travel. Some people may decline because of team or individual qualifications, but I was pretty familiar with the top 20. A lot of legends from previous individual performances that had come back to compete, and I was fairly confident that they were going to accept their invites. But I knew of one athlete in particular that had qualified for an individual semifinal for the Asia Invitational, and I kind of knew, hey, this guy's really good. If he wins and qualifies, then at least I'll be next in line for a backfill. He did, so they send me an invite, and that was really, really cool.
So how long before you actually had to leave for the CrossFit Games did you know you were going to the CrossFit Games?
I had about a month.
Okay.
And I kept training.
Sure.
People were like, don't stop training for it. Train as if you're going. You have a good chance of going, so you never know. Just keep training.
So here's a question I have for you. And I was talking to somebody else about this, who's a master's level athlete. Obviously, there's a little bit of a difference between the lifestyles of an individual elite athlete and a master's elite athlete. The individual elite athlete is basically, that's their, for the top people who are going to the games, it's basically their job. Their life revolves around training. As a master's elite athlete, how does that work for you? Was there leading up to the Open, maybe like starting December 1st, you really started gutting in, or was you were like, I'm going to trust my fitness and just go through the Open? And then once you went to the qualifiers online, again, once you knew you were going to do that, was that like a month or two ahead of time where you really kind of started focusing in and dialing in a little bit more on nutrition and how much you're training, and then again right before the games? Or is that something that's just, you're obviously you live at the gym basically with owning Crash, so did anything really change too much, I guess, is my question, when trying to qualify and then prepare for the games?
Well, since the plan was not really to compete at all this year, I wouldn't say I changed much until probably the qualifier came around. And generally, I try to train. I try to jump into a class or do the class workout in between classes. And then if I have time, I try to get in another 30 to 40 minutes of something, whether it's aerobic work, skill work, strength work, something extra. And usually that ends up being about 90 minutes of training a day. So that didn't change at all going into the Open. During the Open, I would say I probably train a little less as a gym owner and someone that needs to be around when people test workouts and then redo workouts. It's a little bit more stressful. So sometimes I'm at the gym later in the day or really early in the morning for people during those now only 3 weeks, which was really nice this year. After the Open, the focus was kind of on the team and getting them ready for quarterfinals. So I would train with them a lot and still try to keep my fitness as high as I could. But in the back of my mind, it still wasn't like the qualifiers coming, you need to start peaking for that. None of that was going on. During the qualifier, I actually started to be a little less strict on my nutrition and all. I knew that there would be some kind of a strength event, and generally squatting, pulling, anything like that, dynamic or more like powerlifting, I usually am a little bit stronger if I'm a little bit heavier. And that's the case with most people. So I ate a little bit more on purpose leading into that, knowing that whatever the max is, if it was the 4-rep front squat, if that came up again, 5 pounds may be 30 spots on the leaderboard.
Sure. Yep.
So after the qualifier, no, I didn't really train much more until about a month before. So a month before, when I got my official invite, then I started being a lot more conscious of the styles of workouts I was doing, trying to do things like swimming twice a week, running at least once a week in a workout, and then again in a just interval setting.
Yep.
Because there's typically a long run, which there was this year. And then doing a lot more high power output, sprinty type workouts. I generally don't do a lot of those, just because I try to get more fitness in generally, instead of going 100% for 3 minutes and laying on the ground and not wanting to do anything else.
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't think I've done a workout anything less than 20 minutes since being here.
Yeah, there's a lot of like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, but you may do it for 6 or 7 or 8 sets.
Sure, yep.
So very rarely do I just do an event like the deadlift rope climb workout that I did at the games, or maybe the row clean and jerk sled sprint workout that I did at the games, where it's really just gas pedal 3 minutes. I'm able to do stuff like that and still go pretty fast, but that's typically not the way I trained. I tried not to do too much that was different. I had a simulation weekend where I made a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 workouts a day. I tried to space them enough apart to where I needed to warm up for every one of them and cool down and fuel in between. And I went and swam for one, and I went out to a field and did like a shuttle run and then an empty prowler sled sprint where I wanted to puke. And so tried to do as much where it would feel like what the games would feel. And then other than that, I just trained with the same people, and Jason was around getting ready. So we thought that maybe, since the Masters and Teens had no information up until about 2 weeks before, that we would be doing a lot of the same individual events. The individuals had been given some hints, like the pig coming back and a sandbag rope climb, ski workout, and they had been given some info. So usually, other than that simulation weekend, I would just kind of do the same stuff Jason did and just jump in with him, and then kind of knew that at this point, I'm not going to get that much better at anything unless I don't do it at all, like swimming.
Sure.
So I need to continue to do that. But other than that, there's not a whole lot that can be done for general skills and everything.
So when you were jumping in with Jason, were you doing his programming that his coach kind of set up for him, or was that something that you guys kind of collaborated and said, hey, let's do this today, or we'll plan our week out and do this?
No, it was a little bit collaborative, but really I would just speak to Jared one-on-one and say, hey, what do you want Jason to do tomorrow? I have this here if you want to do this, and maybe like this at the games or whatever. But no, he would do his own stuff. I would generally jump in for like one of his things that I could try to push him on, and then I would just do the stuff I normally do.
Awesome. All right, so you guys are traveling to the CrossFit Games. Who'd you bring with you?
A guy named Taylor Wade. He's one of my best friends. He was a member from the previous Crash, and someone who is very, very even keel, mild-tempered, never really gets super high up or down. And I tell people all the time, he was more my emotional shepherd than my coach. He just knew he knows me well enough to know when to shut up and when to say something like, hey, you need to try to win this. And that's it. Very simple. He's not going to yell. He's not going to freak out if a judge no reps me. He's not going to tell me I suck.
So he was pretty much with you the entire week. Like he was, he had your water for you when you needed it. He had your food and all that kind of stuff, like your big cooler or what?
Yeah, he helped a ton with that. What was kind of odd, I would have known this had I ever competed at a high level. We were very separated from the time that we got corralled till, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes after the event was over. I didn't see him. I didn't know where he was going to be sitting. I didn't know if he was going to be there to give me a shake right after or right before. It was really kind of odd. And a lot of the athletes in my division said the same thing. Yeah, it feels like your coach isn't really your coach because they're with you if you've got hours in between the events. But an hour before you see your coach and then maybe 30 minutes to an hour after your workout. So there's not a ton of like, hey, look up at me. I'll be sitting right here and I'll tell you when to break your toaster bar. There's not a lot of that.
Sure. So you guys, were you able to collaborate at all and be like, all right, how are we going to attack this workout? And I'm also interested if, at this level in the Masters Elite 35 to 39, if the athletes were talking together at all, like, hey, this is how I'm going to do this workout, if you guys kind of collaborated at all before an event.
First with Taylor, very little. The events that came out, there wasn't really anything weird where I needed to say, dude, I have no clue how to approach this workout. It was really more like, hey, what's the plan on this? Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then we just move on. There wasn't a whole lot of strategy involved in any of the workouts.
Sure.
He did tell me he wished he could have spoken to me watching some of the heats prior on the double under on turf workout.
Don't talk about that yet. I want to talk about that in a minute.
He said he wished he could have said, hey, get a shorten your rope up or see if you can find a heavier cable or something. Before the sandbag squat workout, he was going to tell me, hey, break up the dumbbell squats because the sandbag is crushing everyone. That's the workout. It has nothing to do with the handstand walk or the bike or anything else. It's all about the sandbag squats. So just go slow. He couldn't really tell me any of that because we were very sequestered from our coach from the time we got corralled. We were corralled 40 to 45 minutes before we actually took the floor. So there's a lot of time where we're just kind of standing around. As far as the strategies between athletes, yeah, there is some gamesmanship, but really it was more, hey, who's got the Reeboks on for this event? And it was kind of from the run on, we would all be jokingly looking around because some guys always wore Reeboks, very few. Most of them wore different shoes for every event. So it would be kind of funny before an event. By Sunday, we kind of knew who was good at what. But the first day especially, people were looking around like, who's planning on winning this? Because they're going to have Reeboks on.
That's hilarious. So did you ever put a pair of Reeboks on?
I did not.
I didn't think so. You were wearing those red Nikes. I know that. And
yeah, I wore Nikes the whole time,
Yeah.
different Nikes. But
did you bring a pair of Reeboks just in case?
no, I don't own any Reeboks. But Taylor and a couple people said, you need to go get some Reeboks for the legless event. Just in case.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, man, that's only 5 rope climbs. It's probably going to be more about who cycles the deadlifts faster. And there's going to be guys out there way stronger than I am. So
talk about that event real quick. I remember watching that one. Do you feel like you held back a little bit at the beginning with the deadlifts, or were you gas pedal the whole time?
No, I was going as fast as I thought I could go and not catch a no rep. People that were watching, I guess on TV or in person, were saying, hey, you could have pushed the line on the deadlifts a little more. I was probably pausing a little bit at the top, maybe more than I needed to, and it was only 5.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this workout is only 25 deadlifts and only 5 rope climbs. So if you're not super careful with touch, hand, then squeeze with your thighs on the rope, controlling the descent, or if you're not really careful with shoulders behind the bar, hips and knees locked at the top, they're going to get you. And one no rep, if you're going really fast and you're confident, like I was on the rope climbs, that's going to cost you.
Right.
And Dustin, the guy who ended up winning the event by, 3 or 4 seconds, he was just a little bit faster on the rope.
Did you guys have, if you were wearing Reeboks, was it still the 10 grand?
I think it was 5 for Masters.
Okay.
But there was also a caveat to that. You had to go to the Reebok vendor and I think sign something, and it was a specific pair. I don't know if it was like the new Nano X or I'm not sure.
Really?
You had to be wearing a certain Reebok shoe, I believe, and not just like, hey, I've got these Nano 2s on, and
Really?
I just
Okay.
won this event, so where's my money?
That's
I think
a bummer. It should have been that way.
I think you had to be a little bit more forthcoming with your
Yeah.
plan. Yeah, because from a marketing standpoint, I think they probably want you to have on the shoes
The
that
latest and
they want
greatest.
people to see.
Yeah, for sure. But still, I think it would be awesome if someone like one of my favorite shoes is the Nano 6. Like, how cool would it be if I just busted those out knowing I'm gonna win?
Oh, that'd be super cool
know?
because if you think about other sports, especially basketball,
Yeah.
where you'll have guys just randomly in the playoff games have a crazy pair of retros
Right.
on,
Exactly.
whether they're Jordans or Kobe's or anything else, and everyone makes a big deal out of the fact that they're wearing that shoe.
Yeah, it's huge. All right, so you brought it up already, but I want to talk a little bit about those double unders. So I remember we were watching that in the clinic, me and Jackson were, and it was heartbreaking because we both know that you could do 1,000 double unders with your eyes closed and jeans on, and then we were seeing you kind of mess that one up. And we all knew it was, turf is completely different, and we never do double unders on turf, so it's, nothing we really practice very often. So was it one of those things that once you missed like 3 or 4, it kind of got in your head, or was it legitimately the whole time that hard?
There was an oh no for sure. And we got briefed on the next day's workouts the night before. We all found out what we were doing for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And of all the workouts that came out, that was the one that I thought I needed to get some Reeboks for. If I had to pick 3 movements, it would probably be those 3.
And remind the folks again what it all was.
So the workout was 15, 12, 9 bar muscle ups, 30 calorie row after each set of muscle ups, 100 double unders after each row. So pretty fast, but yeah, I mean, if I were just writing a workout that I thought would be really good for me, would be the kind of workout I would write.
And you were one of the taller athletes in the field, so.
Yeah, and I just kind of knew that if you look at the time per rep, and if you go unbroken on the bar muscle ups, you're never on the bar for longer than 30 seconds. If you go unbroken on the jump rope, which I planned on doing, you're not on the jump rope for longer than a minute. But most people, no one is going to ski 30 cals a minute.
Right.
So you're on the ski. It's just like the individuals event with the ski, the rope climb, and the sandbag. For most people, you're on the ski for a minute 45. You're probably not on the 4 rope climbs for that long after the first or second round. And then on the sandbag carry, it was really short. So I think they kind of made that workout similarly, with the same stimulus in mind. Yeah, and I knew that it was a ski workout, and I ski all the time, so I was really confident. The oh no was I was the first one to the rope, so I did my muscle ups, skied not hard, and was still to the jump rope before everybody was like, oh, this is about to happen. Mm-hmm. This is going to be awesome. And then I picked it up. First one, fail. Ah, you're good. Second one, fail. All right, come on. Third one, fail. And I remember thinking, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
This isn't going to happen to me in front of all these people on this field with this jump rope. There's no way.
Yeah.
And after the event, of course, I was like, I cannot believe that happened. I remember what it felt like when I was learning double unders. That's what it felt like. And I like to keep my rope a little bit long. It's just how I like it. So there's probably a little bit more slack hitting the ground every time. But when you're on rubber and you're using a super, super thin, like metal cable, it doesn't matter. That turf was not like Crash's turf and a lot of other field turf. It's a little bit more like grass in that the blades are a little bit longer, the individual blades. And I don't know, man. I think that I just there was a little bit more slack hitting the ground, and maybe my cable just being super fine and light was just kind of catching like it wouldn't. Like if I would have just used one of the ropes that I have for community that are a little bit heavier cabled RX Smart Gear ropes, if I would have known and just taken that rope out there, probably completely different workout.
So it wasn't the same rope across the board. You could literally bring your own rope and do that, or?
Yeah, everyone brought their own rope.
Okay.
And that's something that we didn't discuss.
Sure.
All of us were planning on doing 100 unbroken. I think just when they announced that we were not going to have a mat to jump on, everyone kind of had the ooh moment in the briefing. But at the end of the day, no one really thought that was going to be the make or break of the workout.
Right.
When it really was.
Right.
If you watch, and I remember looking left and looking right a little bit when I was struggling, like, is everyone else struggling or am I just the only one that can't do these? And you saw a lot of tripping early on. Mm-hmm. And then as the workout went on, and this is what I tried to explain to people, look, it doesn't matter what happened to me. Those guys had the same task. They figured it out, and I didn't, period. I guarantee you they don't jump rope on turf all the time either.
Right.
But they did something. They choked up on their handles. They jumped a little bit higher. They moved their arms up so that the rope wouldn't even hit the ground. I mean, there was a lot of things that you could have done that, trust me, I was trying to do in the moment.
Right.
It just wasn't working. So, yeah, of all movements, I mean, on the wall walk workout, I think I went unbroken through the round of 210. I mean, yeah, I love double unders, and I consider myself pretty good at them. So it was kind of ironic that my moment was on a movement like that.
It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, your background is a jumping sport, basically, basketball, and it was from, like, as your friend, it was heartbreaking to watch. And we felt for you, but we knew, like you just said, you explained it well.
That's the CrossFit Games.
It is, man.
Like that, I think that above all the moments, other than getting no rep and not knowing why on the wall walks, other than that moment, that was the you're at the games, dude moment.
Right.
Where there's going to be something that you don't really see coming, some kind of adversity. Right. Whether it's a movement that you've never done, whether it's a weight that's too heavy, whether it's a judge that's like really, really strict on something, anything that you're just not expecting that happens. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody had that moment. I know there were some guys that had that moment on event 1, that 7K run, that were really struggling with the heat afterwards. They just did not look good. And I'm sure there were guys that had that same moment on the legless rope climb workout. I mean, there were a lot of guys that were failing legless. And I mean, it was a high rope, and it's not something people can practice at their gym going to 18 to 20 feet versus 12 to 15 feet.
Hey guys, we're going to take a break to thank our sponsors for today's episode. We're going to start off with CrossFit Greer. If you're living in the Greer area and are interested in getting started in CrossFit, go ahead and look up CrossFit Greer. Jen and Reagan Green are the owners there. If you mention the Apogee Podcast to them, they will give you 10% off your first month's membership fees.
I would also like to thank Blitz Belts and Chris Kane for their continued support of the show. So be sure to use their 15% off coupon code at checkout. That's Apogee, all caps. That gets you, the listener, 15% off at checkout at Blitz Belts on your custom order. I want to thank Goat Tape for being our new sponsor. Goat Tape has committed its brand to providing the best in athletic tape. They are the standard for CrossFit tape, scary sticky. Now they are providing the best in KT tape. So at checkout, be sure to get your 25% off your wholesale purchase. Use the coupon code Apogee at checkout.
Finally, if you guys would like to become an invested friend of the show and are interested in supporting the show directly, go to anchor.fm/Apogee Podcast and click on the support tab. We love bringing you guys awesome content each week, so be sure to subscribe to the podcast, drop a review, and let us know how we're doing. So how many people in your division were wearing New Balances for that run?
New Balances?
Yeah.
There were a lot, actually. You saw, I mean, people were wearing Brooks.
Yeah.
And you had guys wearing lots of different kinds of shoes, for sure. And we all joked around, and like no one had on Reeboks, I don't think, for the run. Because it's just something that most people aren't going to go out and run a 7K for time. It was not a fun workout.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so as far as that swim, talk a little bit about that lake, because that was something that, you know, people are like, is that lake clean? Is it dirty? Did it make you feel sick afterwards at all, or what?
No, it didn't make me feel sick, and I did swallow a big gulp of water at one point. I just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and yeah, I had one of those moments. But I've swam in cleaner lakes, for sure, but they're not all going to look crystal clear like Lake Jocassee or, you know, something like that, Lake Keowee maybe. But really, it was, I tried to tell people the workout was a 100-meter run, 300-meter swim, 100-meter run back into the shore. Because I could stand all the way to the second buoy, and I ran in the water until my eyes hit the water, and then I started to swim.
So is that something that was I was going to ask you that. Was that something that was discussed prior to the event starting, that you guys, once you hit the water, you could run as far as you could? Because if you watch the elite, if I remember correctly, you didn't see any of them doing that. Like, they started swimming right away, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or did you guys go in at different points of the lake where it was kind of more shallow?
They were slightly different. I think that they entered and did their kayak to the left of the area we went to. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there was –
I thought that was super interesting because, I remember everybody was just, like, running in the water for a good, whatever you said, 100 meters or what. I was like, did they even talk about that in the briefing? Are these people all going to get, like, basically no-repped for not swimming? Or
Yeah, no, that's not something they said at all. They just said, hey, your buoy is the last one.
Yeah.
That's when you're turning around.
Gotcha.
And that's it. And I did see some people swimming, probably the ones that were most comfortable swimming, a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of us guys that were more so just trying to survive the swim just ran until we didn't have to run anymore. And coming in, it was brutal, like running in that last 100 where you're running through water trying to get your knees up high. And of course I was racing somebody, so I actually had to run really, like, I had to focus on what I was doing.
Quads are burning. All right, so you guys started on Tuesday and you got done on Thursday, is that correct?
Yeah, we had three events on Tuesday: the long run, deadlift, rope climb, snatch. And then on Wednesday we had 3, and then Thursday 3. Yeah, there were 9 total, I believe.
Cool. Couple more questions about the games. Did you feel like, obviously you got 8th. For everybody who doesn't know, you got 8th in the competition. Do you feel like your fitness level was good enough to be even higher than that, or do you feel like 8th is where your fitness level was at?
Having been through the whole weekend, I did not finish strong at all. So the double under workout, I think, was the first workout on Sunday. And then the thruster, the final, because the top 10 were the only ones that did the final. I finished 10th on that in the heat. So those, I think, 2 events were 2 of the final 3. So I really kind of dropped off at the end. After day 1, I think I was in 2nd or 3rd. And then after day 2, I think I was in like 5th. So, I mean, I kind of felt like I belonged in the top 5 when the weekend was over. But there was the double under fiasco that I didn't see coming. And then on the thruster wall workout, there was an opportunity for me to know what it feels like to have, a disagreement with a judge and just kind of how you're going to handle it on the fly and that kind of thing.
So that's another question I had. So it's funny, you watch the CrossFit Games on TV, and you always put yourself in that scenario, like, hey, if David's at the CrossFit Games and I have this disagreement with the judge, like, how am I going to react? I would like to think I would just keep going. And I'm sure you probably thought the same thing. And I didn't even watch this event, so I don't know how you reacted. Is it the way you reacted, how you always imagined yourself to react, or was it really hard to control yourself?
I would say a little bit of both. I am proud of the way I handled it. However, I didn't think I would have to handle it for that long. It was ongoing. Every round was like a new workout. Like, is this wall walk going to count? Is this wall walk not going to count? And it was extremely frustrating. Coaches of athletes in the same heat came up to me when it was over and said, hey man, I'm really sorry you had to endure that, because we were watching and we have no idea why you were getting no repped, which is nice to hear, but also like salt in the wound at the same time.
Were you able to talk to that judge afterwards at all, or did you just kind of let bygones be bygones?
There was a language barrier there. So the cue that I kept getting to fix the issue was the same. it was never verbalized in any different way.
Oh,
So
no.
that made it really, really tough. And
Yeah.
like I told people, I mean, I didn't have many like rookie moments at the games where I just like made a mental error. One on the sled push workout. Previously, our end line for the handstand walk was the blue. So I was pushing the sled in so much pain looking for blue. That did not happen. I should have been looking for for black. So I was pushing the sled. I stopped, and I thought the workout was over, and it wasn't. Adrian Conway kept pushing the sled. He took a place away from me, so that was a rookie moment. And then in the thruster workout, if I had been used to live competition with a judge and a head judge on the floor, after the first 1 or 2 no reps on the wall walk, I mean, that's so much time that you have to wait in between reps. That's like a 30-second penalty. I should have called the head judge over and said, hey, listen, I'm getting no rep. I don't know why. Can you watch this and tell me what I need to do? But I didn't really have that experience to think to myself, okay, stop. You're doing this work and you're not getting credit for it. You don't understand what you're doing wrong, and your judge isn't able to verbalize to you what to do differently. You need to stop working and save your energy and just tell the head judge to come over. People ask me, did I appeal it? It was the last workout of the weekend.
Right.
It's not like I had a podium spot and money involved. It probably wouldn't have changed anything. I don't think they would have gone back and watched my heat and said, okay, you should have gotten credit for 3 of those wall walks. We're going to award you 3 more reps. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Right. So is that going to be a thing? Do you think you're going to try again, or is it just going to be kind of like this year, just shoot from the hip, see what happens?
It's funny you phrase it that way, because people have asked me, and I tell them, and I'm not being coy with them, I wasn't trying this year. It was actually quite the opposite. I've always said that, yes, I'll do the workouts. Like, will you do the open? Absolutely. I'll just do it because that's what you do. Will you do the online qualifier? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I mean, I'm in that age division. Why not?
Right.
So that's kind of the outlook I'll have moving forward. I don't think I'll change anything. Like I said, when I got back, I was pleased that my wife had not gone into labor, and Quinn waited another week to decide she was ready to come out. And, another child, another year with the gym, 2 events that I'm still trying to get as big as I can here. And you just never really know what's going to happen. So I try not to look that far ahead and say, okay, I'm going to have these big training blocks and I'm going to have these smaller mesocycles involved, and my numbers are going to be this by December, and then I'm going to have a little deload, and then I'm going to make a run at I don't think about the season that way, not for my own fitness.
All right, one more question about this, then I want to move on. Speaking of that topic about, what you just said, kind of see what happens. You got so much in life going on. You're going to do the open, blah, 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 blah. Do you think that there will, and I'm assuming probably the majority of the 35 to 39-year-olds are kind of the same way. Like, a lot of them have families, a lot of them have jobs. CrossFit's not really their full-time job anymore. Maybe it was in the past. Do you think that division, it will ever get to a point, once, like, some of these guys, like, I don't know, Scott Panchik or whatever, who's retired, maybe he'll do Masters someday, or, do you think that division will ever get to the point where it's almost like a full-time thing? Or do you think it'll always just be really, really, really fit dads doing it?
Yeah, I think it's going to always be kind of the way it was this year.
Yeah.
And it really sucks that Dan wasn't able to compete. I had met him at Granite Games through Rick and was really excited about getting to know him better, because you do spend a lot of time with those 20 guys. You form relationships and friendships with them, and I was looking forward to doing that with Dan, and he wasn't able to compete. So I think you'll always have those, like, superstars, those legends like Kyle and like Adrian Conway and James Hobart, where you have these names that, like, for me, were like YouTube searches for years and years and years. But then you'll have the guys that maybe didn't start getting into it until they were about 30. So their bodies aren't really as beat up,
Yeah.
and they're kind of still getting better as they get into the masters age group.
Yeah.
But it's all going to come down to the money, I think.
Yeah.
Like Rich ages up next year, I think. There are a lot of guys that are going to be aging up in the next 2 to 3 years, and I think the only way to make it appealing to them, as successful as a lot of them are, is to make the juice worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna pay out 50 grand? Or are you gonna keep paying out 25? Or are you gonna pay out 25 but give the Masters the same 10 grand event win wearing Reeboks? I mean, you're just gonna have to make it worth it for those guys to even want to do it.
Right. Awesome. All right, man. So you get back from the games. The next big thing that happens, you mentioned your second daughter's born. Now, that was a gender surprise, correct?
Correct.
All right. So was it as like exhilarating as the first time? Because the first time was a surprise as well, right?
Yes.
Right. So it was just as exhilarating. No, like when you found out it was a daughter.
Equally the same. Just because of the delivery, it was a little bit more traumatic for my wife, whose epidural was given a little too late, so she didn't get the benefits of not feeling that.
Yeah.
So my mind was on her probably for the first hour that Quinn was born. But it was just as cool to hear the nurse this time, because there wasn't a physician in the room, say, "All right, Dad, call it." To actually be able to say if it was a boy or a girl, and to know right at that moment was really cool.
That's amazing.
Just as cool as the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife had a similar experience with our first son. The epidural thing did not work, and it was very traumatic. So I feel you when you say like that first hour, it was like, all right, my kid's kind of sitting over there, but it's very much focused on my wife and what's going on. Dude, my second one was crazy. It was like straight out of a movie. We were at a graduation party, and Laura's one of these people who I would say maybe doesn't listen to her body as well as a lot of females do. I could tell there was something going on by 7 p.m. She's kind of sitting there, and she's like, oh, it's just really bad, Braxton Hicks or whatever. But anyways, basically at 11:30 at night, she's like, we got to go. So we get in the car. She's doubling over. I grab towels because I literally think I'm going to deliver that baby in the car. And we lived out in Blue Ridge at the time, going to Memorial. And so we get there, and I think we rolled in at 12. Saxon was out at like 12:15. Maybe it was even less. Maybe we got in there at 12. Maybe it was like 12:10. She still had her shirt on and everything.
That's crazy.
It was like a movie, dude. Anyways, all right, awesome. So Quinn's born. Awesome experience. You have 2 girls now. You've got one under the age of 6 months, which is always like a blow in the face. So talk a little bit about what it's been like since having your second child. Is it everything you expected?
Yeah, I mean, man-to-man defense is a lot different than trapping, for sure. To use a basketball analogy, we've had so much help from my parents and from Rebecca's parents, so we probably don't know exactly what it's going to be like moving forward, because we haven't been released into the, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
But my wife's a superstar. She's the one that, is doing all the work, like I tell people, until she goes back to work and I have Quinn, and I'm, warming up milks and stuff every 2 to 3 hours, and I'm feeding the child.
Right.
I'm not doing a whole lot,
Yeah.
change some diapers, burp, and just hold and look and hold her while she sleeps. I mean, it's not a whole lot on me right now.
Yeah, it's I had one of those recently. I've had an aha moment. It's tough when you're the first 2 years as a dad is different, I think, than the first 2 years as a mom, because the mom has already had this connection carrying the baby, and the baby's already very connected to them. Once they hit 2 and 2.5, if they get upset, they don't really want dad, they want mom. At least that's how my sons are. But then now I got a 4-year-old, and he's starting to play soccer, which is what I grew up playing at a pretty high level. And just I've always said I'm not going to live vicariously through my kids. I just want them to choose what they want to do and just be happy for whatever they want to do and support them. But now that I'm like, I kind of got suckered into coach. I always said I would never coach my kids' sports. I don't want to be like that overbearing dad / coach. But I got suckered into it. I said, I'll be your last resort. And the next thing I know, I'm coaching the team. And it has been like the most amazing like last couple weeks, just seeing him as a 4-year-old. Like, it's something, I feel like we've bonded before, but this is like the first time we've really bonded. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my kid out there. He's doing a great job. It's really fun playing with him, and he wants to go out and play with me all the time, soccer. And it's really fun. And I know that your oldest is kind of entering into that stage, which is really cool.
She is. Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because just since Quinn was born, she's starting to become more of a daddy's girl, because I'm the one that's readily available to give her attention.
Mm-hmm.
She understands at this point that mommy has to hold Quinn a lot, and Quinn has to eat a lot, and she can only eat mama's milk, and she's starting to make those connections.
Right.
So she also knows that dad can't do any of those things. So you're the playmate now. If I need something, I'm coming to you, which I don't mind at all, because she has been a mama's girl from the time she was born, and that's been tough for me. We have connections, and of course we have more of a bond now because she's 3, but it's been nice to be the one that's picked.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm trying. I feel that completely. So yeah, shout out to all the new dads out there. Keep hanging in there. All those late nights, totally worth it. I was thinking that. I was like, man, all those like late nights and like getting up in the middle of the night, this is what it's all about. Like, I'm having so much fun right now. So it's really cool. Let's talk about Crucible, man. So that's coming up in 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks from this weekend.
Yeah, so talk about it, man. I'll kind of give you the floor. Like, what's going through your mind?
Too much. I would say the things that I'm most excited about are announcing some sponsorships, which is going to be really cool to see different vendors here this year. And I'm really, really excited about Modal Madness, the Saturday event that we're doing, and I'll explain that a little bit more. And then also just seeing the athletes and announcing the workouts. I told myself last year that I needed to probably give a little bit more information. I need to release some movement expectations for the elite division. Mm-hmm. Last year we had multiple divisions, and we had a ton of people here, which was fun. Also really, really stressful, it being in October and having to limit the crowd, and I don't want to have to do that this year. Also, having to do multiple workouts at the same time was tough, and you had a workout going on the turf with its own clock and its own head judge and timer, and you had the same thing going on the main floor. We did it. I mean, we pulled it off, but really that's what it felt like to me, is just pulling it off. We had people working out at 8 p.m. at night, which is just too late. I mean, yeah, maybe at Wadapalooza on the beach, you have to do a night event, but this is not Wadapalooza.
Sure.
So logistically, being smarter about how to execute it this time around, and it being an elite level event is something I'm also really excited about. I know that most of the community is not what they would consider an elite athlete, and that's great. And there's still going to be a place to come and watch, and a place to compete if you get one of the spots for Saturday morning. But turning May into the community event where you have 4 divisions, novice, intermediate, masters, advanced, and teams of 4 is an opportunity for a ton of different levels of athletes to come together and compete on the same floor, which is awesome. Having October be geared mostly towards individuals, and this year 2-person elite teams, I think is going to be good, so people know, hey, Crucible is like this, Crescendo is like this.
Right. Yep. That's cool. I like that separation. Talk about that Saturday event. I think a lot of people are super interested about that.
Okay, so I know I haven't given a ton of information, and unless you're kind of a nerd in the CrossFit jargon, you're not going to hear Modal Madness and think, oh, okay, I know exactly what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. This is how Modal Madness will work. It is an open division, meaning if you're used to being an RX athlete or an RX plus athlete or a scaled athlete or a novice athlete, you're going to have an opportunity to compete against everyone. The way it will work is on Saturday morning, you will come in, you will have a start time. You'll be able to sign up on local comp, just like any other competition. I will release the events or tests, you can think of them, the night before. What I can tell everyone is that they will be accessible to any division. However, the bigger, stronger, faster, more conditioned you are, the better you will do at all the tests.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do 4 modalities. So we're going to have a monostructural test, which would be row, ski, bike, or run. You will have a gymnastics test. So, but think of it as a little bit more accessible than like muscle ups. That's not going to be the workout. It will be some kind of structured test though, whether it's an AMRAP or something for time. There will be a weightlifting traditional barbell test, and that could be like a power lift or it could be a dynamic lift. You'll find out the night before. And then the 4th score will be an odd object. So it could be a dumbbell workout. It could be a sandbag workout. It could be a sled workout. It could be a kettlebell workout, but something odd object. So you got monostructural, weightlifting, gymnastics, and odd object. And you'll kind of progress through the gym in a running clock style format where the first 10 minutes is the amount of time you'll have to do the first test. And then you'll have your scorecard signed by the judge and you'll take it to your next station. Then you'll have 10 minutes to do your next one. Maybe it's 5 minutes for a max lift. Maybe it's a 6-minute AMRAP of a complex, whatever. But you'll have another 10-minute block. Then you'll go to another 10-minute block for the gymnastics, and you go to a last 10-minute block. And it's a way for us to get a lot of people through, but also in an organized way where we can have close to 100 athletes go.
That's awesome. So is it going to be, as far as like heats go, is that going to be first come, first serve basically? Like the first 10 people in the door are heat 1 and then...
We will not do it like that because
Okay.
I know that that's going to get crazy. There's not going to be any area to warm up, anything like that. However, Jen is working with me and we are going to have that sign up just like we did for the cystic fibrosis fundraiser through Eventbrite. Mm-hmm. We're going to do that in the same fashion for Moto Madness. So when you sign up for it, you will pick a time. If you want to go at 7:40 and there are no 7:40 spots, 7:40 isn't going to show up on your screen. So you'll be able to pick your heat start time. So it's kind of a first come, first serve in that if you want to go at a certain time, like if you think 7 o'clock is too early to go hard on a rower, then don't wait to sign up.
Sure. And what time is this part going to end and then the competition starts up again?
I haven't completely finalized the heat schedule because we're still testing some of the workouts and making small tweaks with reps and time caps. But my plan is to go from about 7 to 10 on Saturday morning and then starting the teams or individuals shortly after, 10:15, 10:30.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
So just kind of a way to get a lot of people in the doors.
Yeah.
Most people still want to get a Saturday workout in. And especially if they come here, it kind of stinks for them because really Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the gym is just the competition. And
right.
It's we have a ton of people that like to work out 6 or 7 days a week. So hopefully they will sign up for that just almost as a way to, maybe win some money, but also just as a way to get their workout in before the competition starts. And then people will just already be here hanging out so that when the teams and individuals start to come in, there's already a nice crowd.
That is awesome. I love that idea. So on Friday night, is it going to kind of be like last year where there's just one event, one big event, and then move on, or is there going to be more than one event on Friday?
Right now there's going to be 2. That's the
Nice.
plan.
Nice.
So the individuals only will go on Friday, and probably will get started early afternoon, like 2 or 3.
Awesome.
And then they'll go from, say 2 to 6 or 7.
Sweet.
So 2 workouts on Friday, and then there'll be 7 scored events for the individuals. So we'll probably have 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I can tell the audience for sure my favorite surprise so far as people who have signed up, who I cannot wait to watch, is Allison and Colin for sure. Like,
Yeah, I think
I cannot wait for that.
that post has gotten the most interaction for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, local celebrities and also a cool name, a cool team name for the comeback tour. And just, I mean, I don't think Allison would mind, but it's been really, really cool to see multiple women postpartum that kind of this is like their re-entering into the competitive fitness space. There's several in the male-female division. And then last year, Danielle Dunlap, that was like her first comp coming back, trying to get back into it. And then she's made it all the way to the last chance qualifier this season. So it's and then seeing Annie finish third, I mean, so empowering for those women.
That was the thing, man. I don't think that was definitely the most emotional last day of CrossFit of all time, in my opinion. I mean, just from Justin seeing his parents and, you know, me being a parent and just imagining that being my kid, like, oh my, I would lose it. And then, Annie, that was incredible. Everything she did that day was incredible. Everything she did all weekend was incredible. And the cool thing was there was zero expectations on her. So
yeah, absolutely.
It was very cool. Anything else you want to talk about with Crucible?
If I get talking about it too much,
You'll give too much information.
I'll say things that I'm excited about, but that I want to keep to myself.
No, that makes sense.
No, I'm really happy right now with the whole programming design. I think people can look forward to not having much subjectivity. That was a really, really big takeaway from the kettlebell, hard to execute and a little harder to enforce standard from last year that I learned from is just making it as much about the athletes as possible and making it as black or white for the judges as possible.
Yeah. Have you picked out your new Lulu pants for the competition yet?
I will not be picking out any new ones. You'll depending on the weather, you'll just see recycled ones from Rick Jones films.
There you go. All right, speaking of Rick Jones films, last thing I want to talk about, having the production of the Buttery Bros come to your gym. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was really cool. I did my best to, and I told Jason this and I told Rick this because they had kind of made those connections and done things that they needed to do to get that opportunity. And I just told them, hey, the shell is here for you guys to use the gym. I will be around to train like I normally am, but we may be in the middle of them filming and I got to go home.
Right.
You know, so you guys enjoy it. I'll be around, but you guys got this opportunity because of things that you've done.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with me. So they were super cool guys. When the camera's off, they're cool. When the camera's on, they're cool. And they're very, very fun to be around.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool when I found out they were coming, I was like, oh, man, that's amazing. And we were going out of town that week, so I wasn't able to come around. But it was cool to watch the episode and, you know, see y'all's faces on the episode. And have you not watched it?
I have not.
Why?
I don't really like watching myself at all on camera.
Did you listen to your episode of your podcast?
I did.
Okay, so you can listen to yourself, but you can't watch yourself.
Yeah, I was really apprehensive about listening to it because I was scared that I would hear me try to verbalize something the way I didn't really want to.
Sure.
But I was generally pleased. I got a little bit wordy, but I was happy with how the podcast went. The YouTube thing is a whole nother level.
Sure.
All I would do is be critical of myself, whether it was something I said, whether it was how I looked doing sandbag cleans. I would have torn myself apart. See, when you film was always something you didn't look forward to because, you know, if you watch film in sports, 9 times out of 10, if they say your name during film, it's not for anything good.
Right, that's
true. And watching yourself mess up in front of your teammates is such a awful feeling. Yeah. So I think I would just be critical watching myself. I haven't watched any of the games events. I won't. I mean, people have asked me, have you gone back and watched the whatever workout? And I was like, no, why would I do that?
I was there. I experienced
So
it.
no, yeah, I probably should. That's something that most athletes should do, is watch themselves and go back and take notes. And I tell people to do that when they, have a training session. I'm like, well, film yourself.
Yeah.
Film yourself. How long were your transitions? Oh, they were 12 seconds. That's too long. They need to be 6.
Right.
But until you see yourself doing it, sometimes you don't have that "what are you doing" moment.
That's so funny that you haven't. I understand not watching yourself in the at the games. The YouTube video, you got to watch it, man. That's your gym. It's cool. And obviously SVL, it was awesome to see both of the gyms being represented, and just kind of representing. Jason did an amazing job representing the upstate, and so obviously Ricky did too, and I love that guy. So yeah, that's very interesting. I'm glad you listened to your podcast. It was great, and you did a very good job talking and verbalizing. And that was something that I took away from that podcast. It was, you said, if I pause a lot, it's because I'm thinking, and I want to make sure I am saying what I'm thinking. Is that what you said?
I think I said something along the lines of, one of the goals that I have, I think as an adult, is to be impeccable with my word.
Impeccable with your words.
And I think that's from the 4 agreements. And I don't read. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I didn't even make it through that whole book. I know it's a popular book, and it was an audio book, and I didn't finish it. But I did get to the part where one of the agreements were to be impeccable with your word. And it really, really resonated with me. So I think I said something along the lines of, if I'm pausing, it means that I want to make sure that the words come out the way that they are supposed to in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. I know that people have asked me, do you have a background in speaking or podcasting or being in radio? And I was like, absolutely not. I was terrified probably the first 10 episodes of doing this podcast. I still sometimes get nervous, but not that often. I was most nervous for Sean Woodland by far. Gordon was probably second. Just kidding. Love you, man. But no, it was helpful for me to go back sometimes and listen to, myself talking, get used to it, and kind of make some corrections. But yeah, I like that. So real quick, because we do it every episode, I'm just gonna come up with a couple questions, and you can spit them back at me. Quinn, was that a name that you guys had picked out, or was that on the dot there?
Yeah, it was a name that we had picked out. My wife wanted to kind of keep there being some kind of family involvement. Lilia's name, she was named after my grandmother, who passed like a month before she was born. But from the time I met Becca and told her that I have a grandmother named Lilia from Colombia, she always said, that is the coolest name. We're naming our daughter Lilia. So she kind of knew that already. With Quinn, our mother's middle names are Gwen and Lynn. And she kind of wanted the mothers to get some love because we didn't know.
Yeah.
So we had a boy name and a girl name.
Yeah.
But she said she really liked the name Quinn with a Q. So that's kind of where that came from.
That's very cool. I like that. I did not know that you had Colombian heritage. That's awesome. That was another question I had. What is the R in J.R.?
It stands for Radford.
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 James Radford.
There's a university in Virginia, Radford University, and that's really all I got. Other than that, it's just a family name.
Okay, gotcha. All right. What protein are you drinking these days?
NutriBio.
I've never even heard of NutriBio.
I get it at the nutrition store.
Do you know all the ingredients in there?
Yeah, there's not really a lot, which is why I take it, because I have a lot of gut issues, but one of them is that it has to be lactose free.
Yeah.
So it's one of the few that I've found that's lactose free, and it's just very minimal. So I tried it once, and Jacob was like, hey, not a lot of people use this, dude, but you can try it and see if you like it. And now I think he just kind of orders tubs for me because he doesn't sell a lot of it.
That's awesome, until everybody listens to this podcast.
No way.
All right, man. Well, it's Thursday afternoon. I know you probably got to get home, and you also got to be back here for some evening classes, so I'll let you go. But thanks for letting me stop by. Again, we're at Crash right now recording. Shout out to Crash. And just shout out to the upstate CrossFit community. We love you guys.
Love you guys. See you in 6 weeks.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Y'all heard it here on the Apogee Fitness Podcast.